Good morning, dear students. This is class 10th, subject science, chapter 3, metals and non-metals. And this is lecture number 1. So let us begin our lecture number 1 with classification of elements. Classification of elements. So all the elements which are present in periodic table, they are categorized in 3 different categories, which are metals, non-metals and metalloids. So the first is metal. The elements which form cations or positive ions by losing electrons are known as metals. Hence, as they are losing electrons, so they becomes electropositive elements. Suppose M is the metal and it is losing one electron, then it gains one positive charge on it and hence it becomes a electropositive element. For example, gold, silver, copper, tin, lead, iron and mercury. All these are examples of metals. All metals except Hg, that is mercury, which is liquid at room temperature. Except mercury, all these metals are solid under normal conditions of temperature and pressure. Second is non-metals. So elements that end to form anions by gaining electrons are called non-metals. Till now, 22 non-metals are known. Most of the non-metals are gaseous, but some of the non-metals are solids. But bromine is one exception, which is liquid at room temperature. Carbon, sulfur, phosphorus, iodine, all these are the examples of non-metals which are solid at room temperature. Some more examples we can have: hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, chlorine. These are in gaseous form. Then third category of elements is metalloids. Metalloids are the elements which behave like metals as well as non-metals. For example, boron, silicon, arsenic. These metalloids or these elements, they have both the characteristics of metals as well as non-metals. Now let us see how all these elements are located in periodic table. All the metals, they are placed on left hand side of the periodic table, in the middle and at the bottom of the periodic table. All the non-metals are placed on the right hand side and in the upper middle part of the periodic table. Then if we talk about metalloids, metalloids are located at extreme end, left end of the non-metals. Left side of the non-metals is the location of metalloids. Then we have noble gases. Noble gases are non-metals of itself, but they have some special properties, so that is why they are kept on the extreme right side of the periodic table. Now let us see the periodic table once and have a glance at the location of these elements. So here is the periodic table. It is having 7 periods. Row wise there are 7 periods and column wise there are 18 groups. So these 18 columns are called groups and these rows are called periods. And here we can see that first thing is the location of metals. So we discussed that the metals are placed on the left hand side of the periodic table in the middle and at the bottom of the periodic table. So here we have some of the metals here in the middle which are indicated by this blue color, and then metals are here also which are represented by pink color. Then it is given that non-metals are placed on the right side of the periodic table. So here you can see that all the non-metals are represented by yellow color. But here some dark yellow color elements are also there. These elements which are in between the metals, which are placed to the left of some of the metals, these elements are called metalloids, which shows the properties of metals as well as non-metals, and that is why they are placed in between metals and non-metals. Then at the extreme end we have noble gases: helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, then radon. So this is how a periodic table looks like, but you can see that one of the non-metal is placed above the metals as well, because this is the lightest and the smallest element that we have. So according to the atomic number, it has been placed on the top of the metals. So in total we have 118 elements present in the periodic table, in which 94 are naturally occurring, whereas 24 are synthetic or they are prepared in the laboratories. Among all these 118 elements, there are 91 metals, in which 84 are the pure metals and 7 are the metalloids. 22 non-metals are presented in the periodic table. Important thing is that iron, which is a metal, is the most abundant element by mass, and oxygen, which is a non-metal, is the most common element found on the earth crust. So remember these points, these are important. One important question arises here is that how will you identify the metallic? So metallic and non-metallic character of an element is decided by its electronic configuration. What is electronic configuration? Electronic configuration is the distribution of electrons of an atom or molecule in atomic or molecular orbits. The last three shells or the orbits, they decide whether this atom or molecule is metallic in character or non-metallic in character. Or you can say the valency electrons we have to see. So in last three shells we should have, or you can say that the configuration can be as we have K, L, M shells. So according to these shells we should have 2 electrons in K, 8 electrons in L, 8 electrons in M, to keep these shells in stable configuration. But metals, they generally have 1 to 3 electrons in the outermost shell of their atoms. That means there will be either 1, 2 or 3 electrons in their outermost orbit. But non-metals will have 4 to 8 electrons in their outermost shell of the atom. So hence, with the help of electronic configuration, we can identify that whether the element is metal or non-metal. Although hydrogen or helium, these two non-metals are exceptions, because their atomic number is very low. Hydrogen is having atomic number 1 and helium is having 4. So they are 2. So they are having 1 and 2 electrons in their outermost orbit, but still they are non-metals. So some common metals, sodium, magnesium, aluminium are here, and we are having that KLM shells of the electrons. So we can see that atomic configuration of these elements is, as the atomic number of sodium is 11, so we'll have 2, 8 and 1. So 1 electron is there in the outermost orbit. Then we have 2, 8 and 2, 2, 8 and 3 for aluminium. So we can see that 1, 2, 3, the outermost shell, in the outermost shell 1, 2, 3 electron numbers are varying. So we can say that metals, they have 1 to 3 electrons in their outermost orbit, whereas non-metals like carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon, atomic number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 respectively, they are having KLM shells, and in the last orbits they are having 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 electrons. So this is the electronic configuration of non-metals. So we can see that they are having electrons in outermost shells 4 to 8. I want to show you some of the daily use materials which are made up of metals. Here you can see this is copper, silver, iron. This is also made up of iron, but this is fresh one, and this is a used one, or you can say this has reacted with the atmospheric oxygen. This is steel. This is one of the alloys of metal. This is also steel, you can see. So all these are metals, but observe some of the things about these metals. They are shiny, they are hard enough, they are very thin, you can see. They can be transformed into wires. Alloys can be formed out of metals. Now look at these materials. I hope you identify this. This is pencil, and this is graphite, which is an allotropic form of carbon. This black powder is carbon, which is a non-metal. But this is not shiny, this is not having any luster, this is not hard as well. You can see both the things. Now let us start with physical properties of metals. So you have observed the metals just now, and you know that they are shiny in nature. That means they have luster. They are hard, they are solids. So let us see these properties in details. All metals except mercury are solids. Mercury is the one of the exceptions that it is liquid at room temperature, and all metals except mercury are solid. Although they are not equally hard, but some of the metals are very soft, some of the metals are very hard. Second property is metals are malleable. Here malleable means they can be beaten into sheets, very thin sheets. Like you can see this. So, and just see the thickness. Some of the metals are highly malleable. For example, gold, silver. So what can be done? They can be hammered and they can be beaten into very thin sheets so that they can be utilized to make different things. Like this, you can see. Third property is metals are ductile. So ductility of a metal tells us that metals can be drawn into wires. For example, 1 gram of gold can be made so thin, or a wire of 2 kilometer length can be made from 1 gram of gold. So this is called ductility. Some of the metals are highly ductile, some are less, but they have this property, ductility. Like copper. Copper is also one of the ductile metals and it can be drawn into wires. For example, you can see it here. This is a household fitting wire and this is copper. So copper can be drawn into very thin wires. But all the metals are not equally ductile. Some of the metals are more ductile, whereas others are less ductile. Gold, silver, copper are the most ductile metals. Now let us see the next property. Metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. So one of the activity in your book, in your NCERT book, it tells that when we keep wax on a copper strip and we heat it at one point, then if you keep, suppose, what will happen? Like this is your copper strip and you are keeping the wax here, and if you are heating at this point, then this wax will start melting here. This tells us that it is a good conductor of heat. And why it is so? Because metals permit heat and electricity to pass through them. Silver, copper and aluminium are very good conductors of heat and electricity both. But silver is the best conductor, copper is the next best conductor of electricity, gold, aluminium and tungsten are good conductors of electricity after silver and copper. Mercury and iron offers great resistance to the flow of current. Therefore, mercury and iron are not good conductors of electricity. But copper and aluminium, as they are good conductors of heat as well as electricity, so they are used to make electric wires. Then fifth physical property of metals is metals are lustrous. That means they are having a shiny surface. That means they have a very shiny surface. As you can see, this is one of the iron piece which is new and it is giving a shine. This is silver. Copper. So all these are having luster. The next is metals have high tensile strength. Tensile strength means they are very strong, they can bear a lot of stress, and that is why metal wires are used to lift very heavy weights without breaking. Most of the metals are hard, but sodium and potassium are the exceptions which are very soft. Sodium is like cheese. This can be cut with the help of knife. So some of the metals are soft, but the rest of the metals are very hard and they are used in the same kind of the applications. Next property of metals is most of the metals they have high melting and boiling point except sodium and potassium. So you know that melting and boiling points, that means we have to provide a limited amount of energy that is required to break the bond between the atoms of the element. Then metals which are very strongly bound together, or the atoms are strongly bound together, so there is very less space, they are very closely packed, so there is a need of more and more amount of energy, or you can say temperature, to break these bonds and let the electrons be free. So that is why melting and boiling points of the metals are very high. For example, melting point of copper is 1083 degrees Celsius, whereas iron is having melting point 1539, that is 1539 degrees Celsius, whereas silver is having melting point 960 degrees Celsius. Sodium is having a very low, that is 98 degrees Celsius. Potassium 64 degrees Celsius. So you can see that sodium and potassium are having low melting point, but most of the metals they have high melting and boiling points. The next property is most of the metals they have high density. Now density is mass per unit volume. So as they are very closely packed, so this density, that is mass per unit volume, becomes very high, except sodium and potassium, which are soft, and hence we can say that there is a space between the atoms of the particular element, hence they are having low density. The next property is metals are sonorous. Sonorous means produces sound. You can see that this copper metal, when I am hitting it with some element, then it is producing sound. Or you can see so these are producing sound. So metals are sonorous, or they produce sound when hit with the hammer or with some other element. Next is metals can form alloys with other metals. That means metals can be mixed with other elements or other metals to make a alloy which is having good properties than both of the metals, which can be more strong, or it can be having some improved properties. You can see this is one of the alloy of copper and brass. Now, physical properties of non-metals. Metals were soft, but non-metals are brittle. Second property, they are neither ductile nor malleable. That means they neither can be drawn into wires, nor they can be beaten into sheets. But metals were good conductors of electricity, whereas non-metals are insulators. That means they do not conduct electricity except graphite. Because graphite is a very good conductor of electricity. One more property, that is shiny surface. Graphite is, in the some of the forms, it is shiny in nature. Next is they do not have luster except graphite and iodine. Are soft, having low density as they are not properly arranged. There is no proper arrangement of atoms. They are having large gap in between the atoms. So that is why they are having low tensile strength, low melting and boiling points, non-sonorous, that they do not produce sound. Like you can see, so this is not producing much sound. Then all the metals were solids except mercury, but metals can be solids, liquids or gases at room temperature. Metals show allotropy. Allotropy is the property of an element to exist in more than one structural form is called allotropic form. So different forms of an element are called allotropic forms of that element or allotropes of that element. For example, phosphorus. Phosphorus exists in 5 allotropic forms, which are yellow phosphorus, red phosphorus, violet phosphorus, black phosphorus and scarlet phosphorus. Then carbon. A well-known allotropic form of carbon is diamond. Another one is graphite, coal, coke. So all these are the different structural arrangements of carbon. Then sulfur. Sulfur exists as rhombic, monoclinic and plastic sulfur. So these were the allotropic forms. But this is not in the case of metals. Now let us summarize the lecture once. So lecture 1. We started with the classification. And the elements are classified into 3 parts: metals, non-metals and metalloids. Metals are electropositive in nature, that means they lose electron. Non-metals are electronegative in nature, that means they gain electron. Metalloids are the elements which behave like metals as well as non-metals. So they have the properties of both. So in total we have 118 elements, among which 94 are natural while 24 are synthetic. Among all these, 91 are metals and 22 are non-metals. In these 91 metals, 84 are metals and 7 are metalloids. These 22 non-metals are comprises of solids, liquids and gaseous non-metals. Iron is the most abundant metal and oxygen is the most common element found on earth crust. Then we define metal, that metals are the elements which loses electron and becomes electropositive in nature. For example, gold, copper, silver, iron, magnesium, sodium. Then non-metals which gain electron and becomes electronegative in nature. Then metalloids which behave as both metals and non-metals. Then we have seen the identification of metal and non-metals with the help of electronic configuration. That metal have 1 to 3 electrons in outermost shell. And non-metals have 4 to 8 electrons in the outermost shell, except hydrogen and helium. Because hydrogen and helium, they are having atomic number 1 and 2. So they are having 1 and 2 electrons only in the outermost shell, but still they are non-metals. Then we have seen the physical properties of metals. That metals are solid except etched. Then they are malleable, ductile. Malleable means they can be beaten into sheets. Ductile means they can be drawn into wires. For example, copper, gold, silver. Good conductors of heat and electricity. Then most of the metals are hard except sodium and potassium, have high density except sodium and potassium. Then metals have high tensile strength, high melting and boiling points except sodium and potassium. This is also except sodium and potassium because sodium and potassium are soft. So sodium is so soft that it can be cut into pieces with the help of knife. Metals produce sound and they can form alloys by mixing with other metals. Then we saw the physical properties of non-metal, that they are brittle, nor ductile, neither ductile nor malleable, insulators of heat and electricity, and they do not have any luster or shiny surface. They are very soft, have a low density, low tensile strength, low melting and boiling point. They do not produce sound, that means they are non-sonorous. They can exist as solids, liquids or gases at room temperature, and they show allotropy, that means different structural arrangements of same element. Now at the end, see the homework of today. Lecture 1 homework is you have to do in-text questions at page number 40, and the questions are: question number 1, give one example of a metal which is a liquid at room temperature. Second, can easily cut with the knife, is best conductor of heat, is poor conductor of heat. So you have to give examples of all these 4. Second question is explain the meaning of malleability and ductile. That means you have to define malleability and ductility, or what is the meaning of malleable and ductile in case of metals. So that is it for today. So I'll continue my chapter in chapter 3 in lecture 2 also. So till then, goodbye and have a nice day.